Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. We're here in Hive Studios. We're floating in transcendental pleasure by hearing with you the Sri Caitanya-caritämrta every day, traveling as we are with Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. We hope that everyone is safe and well and happy in all respects. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was extremely attached to the Caitanya-caritämrta. I repeat the same thing every day, but I never get tired of it. It's mystical. It's such a simple and satisfying thing to do. He said, in due course, Mahapralaya, devastating floods, will inundate the entire universe. If you attempt to survive by swimming in that deluge, then do not neglect to take hold of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Or, if you cannot hold all three, then release Bhagavad Gita. If necessary, you may also relinquish Srimad Bhagavatam, but under no circumstances release your hold on Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. For if this one book remains, then the flood can do no actual damage, because after it has subsided, the message of Shastra can be revived from Sri Caitanya-caritämrta alone, it being the essence of all Shastra. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we're traveling with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, happily enjoying, listening to his pastimes. Now he's reached the place of the Madhvacharya Tattvavadis, and he's having a discussion with them. It's right in the middle of the discussion. We're starting with text 263 in chapter 9 of the Madhya-lila of Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Evam vritak swapriyanama kirtya jatanurago drutachitta uchchahi asatyato rod ditirauti gayati unmadavan nrityati lokabayaha. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated, and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talking to the Mayavadi, talking to the Madhvacharya leader. Purport. This verse is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:2-40. In every revealed scripture, there is condemnation of fruitive activities. It is advised everywhere to give up engagement in fruitive activities, for no one can attain the highest goal of life, love of Godhead, by executing them. Purport. In the Vedas, there are 3 khandas, or divisions: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. The Karma Kanda portion stresses the execution of fruitive activities. But ultimately it is advised that one abandon both karmakanda and jnana-kanda, speculative knowledge, and accept only upasana-kanda, or bhakti-kanda. One cannot attain love of Godhead by executing karma-kanda and jnana-kanda, but by dedicating one's karma or one's fruitive activities to the Supreme Lord, one may be relieved from the polluted mind, and becoming free from mental pollution helps elevate one to the spiritual platform. Then, however, one needs the association of a pure devotee, for only by a pure devotee's association can one become a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. When one comes to the stage of pure devotional service, the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam is very essential. Shall I repeat that again, just in case nobody got that? When one comes to the stage of pure devotional service, the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam is very essential. By executing the 9 items of devotional service, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam, one is completely purified. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana-karma-jnanavritam. Only then is one able to execute Krishna's orders in the Bhagavad Gita 18:65 and 66. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madjaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me sarvadharman parijajya mamekam sharanam braja ahang tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishami ma shuchaha. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer me your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. In this way one develops his original constitutional position of rendering loving service to the Lord. One cannot be elevated to the highest platform of devotional service by karma-kanda or jnana-kanda. Pure devotional service can be understood and attained only through the association of pure devotees. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that there are 2 types of karma-kanda activities, pious and impious. Pious activities are certainly better than impious activities, but even pious activities cannot bring about ecstatic love of God, Krishna. Pious and impious activities can bring about material happiness and distress, but there is no possibility of one's becoming a pure devotee simply by acting piously or impiously. Bhakti, devotional service, means satisfying Krishna. In every revealed scripture, whether stressing jnana-kanda or karma-kanda, the principle of renunciation is always praised. The ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge, Srimad Bhagavatam, is the supreme Vedic evidence. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.12 it is said, Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhava bharjitam nashobhate jnanamalang niranjanam kutak punak shashvata bhadram ishvare nacharpitam karma yadapyukaranam. Knowledge of self-realization, even though freed from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord? This means that even knowledge which is superior to fruitive activity is not successful if it is devoid of devotional service. Therefore, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the beginning, middle, and end, Karmakanda and Jnanakanda are condemned. For example, in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, it is said, Dharma projita kaitavo tra. This is explained in the following verses taken from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.32 and the Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Agyayaiva gunan doshan maya dishtan api swakan dharman sanyajyayak sarvan mam bhajet sachasata maha. Occupational duties are described in the religious scriptures. If one analyzes them, he can fully understand their qualities and faults and then give them up completely to render service under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A person who does so is considered a first-class man. Text 265. Sarvadharman purichaja mamikam sharanam braja ahang tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Text 266. As long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulated principles of the Vedic injunctions. Purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.29. Text 267. Pure devotees reject the 5 kinds of liberation. Indeed, for them, liberation is very insignificant because they see it as hellish. Pure devotees always reject the 5 kinds of liberation, which include living in the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, possessing the same opulences as those possessed by the Supreme Lord, having the same bodily features as the Lord's, associating with the Lord, and merging into the body of the Lord. The pure devotees do not accept these benedictions without the service of the Lord. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.13. Text 269. It is very difficult to give up material opulence, land, children, society, friends, riches, wife, or the blessings of the goddess of fortune, which are desired even by great demigods. But King Bharat did not desire such things, and this was quite befitting his position, because for a pure devotee whose mind is always engaged in the service of the Lord, even liberation, or merging into the existence of the Lord, is insignificant. And what to speak of material opportunities? Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 5.14.44 concerning the glorification of King Bharat, whom Shukadev Goswami was describing to King Parikshit. Text 272. Text 270. Narayana padak sarve na kutas jana bhibyati sarva pavarga narakeshu apitul yarta darshinaha. A person who is a devotee of Lord Narayana is not afraid of a hellish condition because he considers it the same as elevation to the heavenly planets or liberation. The devotees of Lord Narayana are accustomed to seeing all these things on the same level. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 6.17.28 regarding the personality Chitraketu. Once, when Chitraketu saw the goddess Parvati sitting on the lap of Lord Shambhu, Shiva, he criticized Lord Shiva for being shameless and sitting just like an ordinary man with his wife on his lap. For this reason, Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati. Later he became a demon named Vritrasura. Chitraketu was a very powerful king and a devotee, and he could certainly retaliate even against Lord Shiva. But when Parvati cursed him, he immediately accepted the curse with a bowed head. When he agreed to accept this curse, Lord Shiva praised him and told Parvati that a devotee of Lord Narayana is never afraid of accepting any position, provided there is a chance to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the purport of Narayana Para Sarve Na Kutas Chana Bibyati. Text 271. Both liberation and fruitive activity are rejected by devotees. You are trying to establish these things as life's goal and the process for attaining it. Text 272. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued speaking to the Tattvavadi Acharya. Seeing that I am a mendicant in the renounced order of life, you have been playing with me in a duplicitous way. You have not actually described the process and ultimate objective. After hearing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Acharya of the Tattvavad Sampradaya became very much ashamed. Upon observing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's rigid faith in Vaishnavism, he was struck with wonder. Text 274. The Tattvavadi Acharya replied, "What you have said is certainly factual. It is the conclusion of the revealed scriptures of the Vaishnavas. Still, whatever Madhvacharya has explained as the formula for our party, we practice as a party policy." 276. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Both the fruitive worker and the speculative philosopher are considered non-devotees. We see both elements present in your sampradaya." Text 277. The only qualification that I see in your sampradaya is that you accept the form of the Lord as truth. Purport. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to point out to the Tattvavadi Acharya, who belonged to the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, that the general behavior of the Tattvavadis did not favor pure devotional service, which must be devoid of the taints of fruitive activity and speculative knowledge. As far as fruitive activity is concerned, the contamination is the desire for elevation to a higher standard of life, and for speculative knowledge, the contamination is the desire to merge into the existence of the Absolute Truth. The Tattvavad Sampradaya of the Madhvacharya school sticks to the principles of Varnashram Dharma, which involves fruitive activity. Their ultimate goal, mukti, is simply a form of material desire. A pure devotee should be free from all kinds of material desire. He simply engages in the service of the Lord. Nonetheless, Caitanya Mahaprabhu was pleased that the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, or the Tattvavad Sampradaya, accepted the transcendental form of the Lord. This is the great qualification of the Vaishnava Sampradayas. It is the Mayavad Sampradaya that does not accept the transcendental form of the Lord. If a Vaishnava Sampradaya is also carried away by that impersonal attitude, that Sampradaya has no position at all. It is a fact that there are many so-called Vaishnavas whose ultimate aim is to merge into the existence of the Lord. For example, the Sahaja's Vaishnava philosophy is to become one with the Supreme. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out that Sri Madhavendra Puri accepted Madhvacharya only because his sampradaya accepted the transcendental form of the Lord. 278. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu broke the pride of the Tattvavadis to pieces. He then went to the holy place known as Palgu Tirtha. 279. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi, next went to Chittakupa, and after seeing the Vishala deity there, he went to the holy place known as Panchapsara Tirtha. Purport. The Apsaras, denizens of the heavenly planets, are generally known as dancing girls. The girls in the heavenly planet are exquisitely beautiful, and if a woman on earth is found to be very beautiful, she is compared to the Apsaras. There were 5 Apsaras named Lata, Budbuda, Samichi, Soraberyi, and Varna. It is said that these 5 beautiful dancing girls were sent by Indra to break the severe austerity of a saintly person called Achyuta Rishi. This action was typical of Indra, the king of heaven. Whenever Indra discovered someone undergoing severe austerities, he would begin to fear for his post. Indra was always anxious about his position, fearing that if someone became more powerful than he was, he would lose his elevated position. Thus, as soon as he would see a saint undergoing severe austerities, he would send dancing girls to distract him. Even the great saint Vishwamitra Muni fell victim to his plan. When the 5 Apsaras went to break Achyuta Rishi's meditation, they were all chastised and cursed by the saint. Whoa! As a result, the girls turned into crocodiles in a lake that came to be known as Panchapsara. Lord Ramachandra also visited this place. From Sri Narada Muni's narration, it is understood that when Arjuna went to visit the holy places, he learned about the condemnation of the 5 Apsaras. He delivered them from their abominable condition, and from that day, the lake known as Panchapsara became a place of pilgrimage. Text 280. After seeing Panchapsara, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gokarna. While visiting there, he visited the temple of Lord Shiva and then went to Dvaipayani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the crown jewel of all sannyasis, then went to Suparaka Tirtha. Purport. Gokarna is situated in North Kannada in the Karnataka state. It is about 33 miles southeast of Karwar. This place is very famous for the temple of Lord Shiva known as Mahabaleshwar. Hundreds and thousands of pilgrims come to see this temple. Suparaka is about 26 miles north of Bombay. In the Maharashtra province near Bombay is a district known as Thana and a place known as Sopara. Suparaka is mentioned in the Mahabharata, Shanti Parva 41, 66, and 67. Text 281. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited the town of Kolhapur, where he saw the goddess of fortune in the temple of Chira Bhagavati and saw Langa Ganesh in another temple known as Chora Parvati. Purport. Kolhapur is a town in the Maharashtra province, formerly known as Bombay Pradesh. Formerly, Kolhapur was a native state and it bordered on the north by the district of Santara, on the east and south by the district of Belagaum, and on the west by the district of Ratnagiri. In Kolhapur, there is a river named Urna. From the Bombay Gazette, it is understood that there were about 250 temples there, out of which 6 are very famous. These are 1. Ambabhai, or Mahalakshmi Mandir; 2. Vithoba Mandir; 3. Temblai Mandir; 4. Mahakali Mandir; 5. Pirangamai, or Pratyangira Mandir; and Yalamama; and 6. Yalama Mandir. Text 282. From there, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Pandharpur, where he happily saw the temple of Vittala Thakur. Purport. The city of Pandharpur is situated on the river Bhima. It is said that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu initiated Tukaram there when he visited Pandharpur, and thus Tukaram became his disciple. Tukaramacharya became very famous in the Maharashtra province, and he spread the Sankirtan movement all over the province. The Sankirtan party belonging to Tukaram is still very popular in Bombay and throughout the province of Maharashtra. Tukaram's writings are known as Abhangas. His Sankirtan party exactly resembles the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sankirtan parties, for they chant the holy name of the Lord with mridanga and karatals. The Lord Vittaladev, mentioned in this verse, is a form of Lord Vishnu with 2 hands. He is Narayana. Text 283. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced in various ways as usual. A Brahmana, seeing him in ecstatic love, was very pleased and invited the Lord to his home for lunch. The Brahmana offered Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu food with great respect and love. After finishing his lunch, the Lord received auspicious news. 285. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu received word that Sri Rangapuri, one of the disciples of Sri Madhavendra Puri, was present in that village at the home of a Brahmana. Hearing this news, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu immediately went to see Sri Rangapuri at the Brahmana's home. Upon entering, the Lord saw him sitting there. As soon as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw Sri Rangapuri, he immediately offered him obeisances in ecstatic love, falling flat on the ground. The symptoms of transcendental transformation were visible, namely tears, jubilation, trembling, and perspiration. Text 288. Upon seeing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu in such an ecstatic mood, Sri Rangapuri said, "Your Holiness, please get up." Your Holiness is certainly related to Sri Madhavendra Puri, without whom there is no fragrance of ecstatic love. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that up to the advent of His Holiness Sripad Lakshmipati Tirtha, it was the system in the disciplic succession of Madhvacharya to worship Lord Krishna alone. After Srila Madhavendra Puri, worship of both Radha and Krishna was established. For this reason, Sri Madhavendra Puri is accepted as the root of worship and ecstatic love. Unless one is connected to the disciplic succession of Madhavendra Puri, there is no possibility of awakening the symptoms of ecstatic love. The word Gosai is significant in this connection. The spiritual master, who is fully surrendered under the Supreme Personality of Godhead and has no business other than the Lord's service, is called the best of the Paramahamsas. A Paramahamsa has no program for sense gratification. He is interested only in satisfying the senses of the Lord. One who has control of the senses in this way is called a Gosai or Goswami, master of the senses. The senses cannot be controlled unless one is engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, the bona fide spiritual master, who has full control over his senses, engages 24 hours a day in the Lord's service. He can therefore be addressed as Gosai or Goswami. The title Goswami cannot be inherited, but can be given only to a bona fide spiritual master. There were 6 great Goswamis of Vrindavan: Srila Rupa, Sanatan, Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta, and Dasa Raghunath, and none of them inherited the title of Goswami. All the Goswamis of Vrindavan were bona fide spiritual masters situated on the highest platform of devotional service, and for that reason they were called Goswamis. All the temples of Vrindavan were certainly started by the 6 Goswamis. Later, the worship in the temples was entrusted to some householder disciples of the Goswamis, and since then, the hereditary title of Goswami has been used. However, only one who is a bona fide spiritual master expanding the cult of Sri Caitanya Mahäprabhu, the Krishna consciousness movement, and who is in full control of his senses, can be addressed as a Goswami. Unfortunately, the hereditary process is going on. Therefore, at the present moment, in most cases, the title is being misused due to ignorance of the word's etymology. Text 290. After saying this, Sri Rangapuri lifted Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu up and embraced him. And as they embraced shoulder to shoulder, they both began to cry in ecstasy. Text 291. After some moments, they came to their senses and became patient. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then informed Sri Rangapuri about his relationship with Ishwara Puri. Text 292. They were both inundated by the wonderful ecstasy of love that was aroused in them. Finally, they sat down and respectfully began to converse. In this way, they discussed topics about Lord Krishna continually for 5 to 7 days. 294. Out of curiosity, Sri Rangapuri asked Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu about his birthplace, and the Lord informed him that it was Navadvip Dham. Text 295. Sri Rangapuri had formerly gone to Navadvip with Sri Madhavendra Puri, and he therefore remembered the incidents that had taken place there. As soon as Sri Rangapuri recalled Navadvip, he also recalled accompanying Sri Madhavendra Puri to the house of Jagannath Mishra, where Rangapuri had taken lunch. He even remembered the taste of an unprecedented curry made of banana flowers. 297. Sri Rangapuri also remembered the wife of Jagannath Mishra. She was very devoted and chaste. As for her affection, she was exactly like the mother of the universe. Text 298. He also remembered how Sri Jagannath Mishra's wife Shachimata was expert in cooking. He recalled that she was very affectionate toward the sannyasis and fed them exactly like her own sons. 299. Sri Rangapuri also remembered that one of her deserving sons had accepted the renounced order at a very young age. His name was Shankararanya. Shankararanya. 300. Sri Rangapuri informed Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu that the sannyasi named Shankararanya had attained perfection in that holy place, Pandharpur. Purport. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's elder brother was named Vishwarupa. He left home before Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and accepted the renounced order under the name of Shankararanya Swami. He traveled all over the country and finally went to Pandharpur, where he passed away after attaining perfection. In other words, he entered the spiritual world after giving up his mortal body at Pandharpur. Sri Rangapuri, a disciple of Sri Madhavendra Puri and godbrother of Ishwara Puri, disclosed this important news to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 301. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, "In my previous ashram, Shankararanya was my brother and Jagannath Mishra was my father." After finishing his talks with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Rangapuri started for Dwarkadam. Text 303. After Sri Rangapuri departed for Dwarka, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu remained with the Brahmana at Pandharpur for 4 more days. He took his bath in the Bhima river and visited the temple of Vitala. 304. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu next went to the bank of the Krishna-Vanwa river, where he visited many holy places and the temples of various gods. Purport. This river is a branch of the river Krishna. It is said that Thakur Bilvamangal resided on the banks of this river, which is also called the Vina, the Vini, the Sina, and the Bhima. Text 305. The Brahmana community there was composed of pure devotees. They regularly studied a book entitled Caitanya-caritämrta, which was composed by Bilvamangal Thakur. Purport. This book was composed by Bilvamangal Thakur in 112 verses. There are 2 or 3 other books bearing the same name, and there are also 2 commentaries on Bilvamangal's book. One commentary was written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and the other by Chaitanya Das Goswami. Text 306. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to hear the book Caitanya-caritämrta, and with great eagerness he had copied it and took it with him. Text 307. There is no comparison to the Caitanya-caritämrta within the 3 worlds. By studying this book, one is elevated to the knowledge of pure devotional service to Krishna. Text 308. One who constantly reads the Caitanya-caritämrta can fully understand the beauty and melodious taste of the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Text 309. The Brahma Samhita and Caitanya-caritämrta were 2 books that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu considered to be most valuable jewels. Therefore he took them with him on his return trip. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at the banks of the river Tapi. After bathing there, he went to Mahishmatipur. While there, he saw many holy places on the banks of the river Narmada. Purport. The river Tapi is also known as Tapti. The river's source is a mountain called Multai, and the river flows westward through the state of Saurashtra and into the Arabian Sea. Mahishmatipur, Maheshwar, is mentioned in the Mahabharata in connection with Sahadev's victory. Sahadev, the youngest brother of the Pandavas, conquered that part of the country, as stated in the Mahabharata. Tatto Ratnanyupadaya Purim Mahishmatim Yayao Tatra Nilinarad Yatsa Chakre Yudham Narashabaha. After acquiring jewels, Sahadev went to the city of Mahishmati, where he fought with a king called Nila. Text 311. The Lord next arrived at Dhanustirtha, where he took his bath in the river near Vindhya. He then arrived at Rishyamukha mountain and then went to Dandakaranya. Purport. According to some opinions, Rishyamukha is a chain of mountains beginning at the village of Hampi Gram in the district of Bellary. The mountain chain begins along the bank of the river Tungabhadra, which gradually reaches the state of Hyderabad. According to other opinions, this hill is situated in Madhya Pradesh and bears the present name of Rampa. Dandakaranya is a spacious tract of land which begins north of Khandesh and extends up to the southern Ahmednagar through Nasika and Aurangabad. The Godavari River flows through this tract of land, and there's a great forest there where Lord Ramachandra lived. Text 312. Within the Dandakaranya forest, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then visited a place called Saptatala. The 7 palm trees there were very old, very bulky, and very high. Purport. The name Saptatala is mentioned in the Kishkandya section of the Ramayana and is described in the 11th and 12th chapters of that section. Text 313. Upon seeing the 7 palm trees, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu embraced them. As a result, they all returned to Vaikuntha Loka, the spiritual world. 314. After the 7 palm trees had departed for Vaikuntha, everyone was astonished to see that they were gone. The people then began to say, this sannyasi called Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu must be an incarnation of Lord Ramachandra. Text 315. Only Lord Ramachandra has the power to send 7 palm trees to the spiritual Vaikuntha planets. Eventually, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at a lake known as Pampa, where he took his bath. He then went to a place called Panchavati, where he rested. Purport. According to some, the old name of the Tungabhadra river was Pampa. Pamba. According to others, Vijayanagara, the capital of the state, was known as Pampatirtha. According to still others, the lake near Anagundi, in the direction of Hyderabad, is Pampa Sarovara. The river Tungabhadra also flows through there. There are many different opinions about the lake called Pampa Sarovara. And notice that he doesn't try to reconcile them all. He just names them all. Text 37. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then visited Nasik, where he saw the deity of Triambaka, Lord Shiva. He then went to Brahmagiri and then to Kushavarta, the source of the river Godavari. Purport. Kushavarta is located in the western Ghat at Sayadri. It is near Nasik, a holy place, but according to some, it was situated in the valley of Vindhya. Text 33:18. After visiting many other holy places, the Lord went to Sapta Godar. After visiting many other holy places, the Lord went to Sapta Godavari. At last, he returned to Vidyanagar. Purport. In this way, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu traveled from the source of the Godavari River and eventually visited the northern side of Hyderabad state and finally arrived at the state of Kalinga. Text 319. When Ramananda Roy heard of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival, he was very pleased and he immediately went to see him. Text 320. When Ramananda Roy fell flat, touching the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord immediately raised him to his feet and embraced him. Text 321. In great ecstatic love, they both began to cry, and thus their minds were slackened. 322. After some time, they regained their senses and sat together to discuss various subjects. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu gave Ramananda Roy a vivid description of his travels to the holy places and told him how he had acquired the two books named Caitanya-caritämrta and Brahma Samhita. The Lord delivered the books to Ramananda Roy. Text 324. The Lord said, whatever you have told me about devotional service is all supported by these two books. 325. Ramananda Roy was very happy to receive these books. He tasted their contents along with the Lord and made a copy of each. Text 326. News spread in the village of Vidyanagar about the arrival of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and everyone came to see him once again. After seeing the people who gathered there, Sri Ramananda Roy returned to his own home. At noon, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu got up to take his lunch. Sri Ramananda Roy returned at night, and he and the Lord discussed topics concerning Krishna. Thus they passed the night. 329. Ramananda Roy and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu discussed Krishna day and night, and thus they passed from 5 to 7 days in great happiness. 330. Ramananda Roy said, my dear Lord, with your permission, I have already written a letter to the king with great humility. The king has already given me an order to return to Jagannath Puri, and I am making arrangements to do this. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then said, it is for this purpose alone that I have returned. I want to take you with me to Jagannath Puri. Ramananda Roy said, my dear Lord, it is better that you proceed to Jagannath Puri alone, because with me there will be many horses, elephants, and soldiers, all roaring tumultuously. I shall make arrangements within 10 days. Following you, I shall go to Nilachala without delay. Giving orders to Ramananda Roy to come to Nilachala, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu departed for Jagannath Puri with great pleasure. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned by the same road he had formerly taken to Vidyanagar, and all the Vaishnavas along the way saw him again. Wherever Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went, the holy name of Sri Hari was vibrated. Seeing this, the Lord became very happy. When the Lord reached Alalanath, he sent his assistant Krishnadas ahead to call for Nityananda Prabhu and the other personal associates. As soon as Nityananda Prabhu received news of the arrival of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he immediately got up and started out to see him. Indeed, he was very impatient in his great ecstasy. Text 340. Sri Nityananda Roy, Jagadananda, Damodar Pandit, and Mukunda all became ecstatic in their happiness, and dancing along the way, they all went to meet the Lord. Gopinathacharya also went in a very happy mood. They all went to meet the Lord, and they finally contacted him on the way. The Lord was also filled with ecstatic love, and he embraced them all. Out of their love, they began to cry with pleasure. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also went to see the Lord with great pleasure, and he met him on the beach by the sea. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord pulled him up and embraced him. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya cried in great ecstatic love. Then the Lord, accompanied by them all, went to the temple of Jagannath. Due to ecstatic love experienced upon visiting Lord Jagannath, inundations of trembling, perspiration, tears, and jubilation swept the body of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. In ecstatic love, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced and chanted. At that time, all the attendants and priests came to offer him a garland and the remnants of Lord Jagannath's food. Purport. Those who are priests engaged in Lord Jagannath's service are called pandas or pandits, and they are brahmanas. The attendants who look after the Lord's external affairs are called palas. The priests and attendants went together to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu became patient after receiving the garland and prasadam of Lord Jagannath. All the servants of Lord Jagannath met Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu with great pleasure. Afterward, Kashi Mishra came and fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord respectfully embraced him. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then took the Lord with him to his home, saying, "Today's luncheon will be at my home." In this way, he invited the Lord. 351. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya brought various types of food remnants that had been left by Lord Jagannath. He brought all kinds of cakes and condensed milk preparations. Accompanied by all his associates, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house and took his noon lunch there. After offering food to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya made him lie down to rest, and he personally began to massage the legs of the Lord. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then sent Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to take his lunch, and the Lord remained that night in his home just to please him. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates remained with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. They all stayed awake the entire night as the Lord spoke of his pilgrimage. The Lord told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, "I have traveled to many places, but I could not find a Vaishnava as good as you anywhere." Whoa. Hare Krishna. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued, "I received much pleasure from the talks of Ramananda Roy." The Bhattacharya replied, "For this reason, I requested that you meet him." Purport. In the Caitanya-caritämrta, beginning of the 8th act, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu says, "Sarvabhauma, I have traveled to many holy places, but I cannot find a Vaishnava as good as you anywhere. However, I must admit that Ramananda Roy is wonderful." Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replies, "Therefore, my Lord, I requested that you see him." Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then says, There are, of course, many Vaishnavas in these holy places, and most of them worship Lord Narayana. Others, who are called Tattvavadis, are also Lakshmi Narayana worshippers, but they do not belong to the pure Vaishnava cult. There are many worshippers of Lord Shiva, and there are also many atheists. Regardless, my dear Bhattacharya, I very much like Ramananda Roy and his opinions. Text 358. Thus I have ended my narration about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pilgrimage, describing it in brief. It cannot be described very broadly. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out that in the 74th verse of this chapter, it is stated that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Shyali Bhairavi. But actually, at Shyali, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Sri Varaha. Near Shyali, in Chidambaram, there is a temple known as Sri Mushnam. In this temple, there is a deity of Sri Varaha. In the jurisdiction of Chidambaram, there is a district known as Southern Arcata. The town of Shyali is in that district. There is a temple of Sri Varahadev, not Bhairavi Devi. This is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's conclusion. The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are unlimited. No one can properly describe his activities. Yet I make the attempt out of greed. This but reveals my shamelessness. 360. Whoever hears of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pilgrimage to various holy places attains the riches of very deep, ecstatic love. Hare Krishna. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks, the impersonalists imagine some forms of the absolute truth through the direct perception of their senses. The impersonalists worship many imaginary forms, but neither Srimad Bhagavatam nor Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts this sense gratificatory worship to be of any spiritual significance. The Mayavadis imagine themselves to be the Supreme. They imagine that the Supreme has no personal form and that all his forms are imaginary like the will-o'-the-wisp or a flower in the sky. Both Mayavadis and those who imagine forms of God are misguided. According to them, worship of the deity or any other form of the Lord is a result of the conditioned soul's illusion. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam on the strength of his philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. That philosophy holds that the Supreme Lord is simultaneously one with and different from his creation. That is to say, there is unity in diversity. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proved the impotence of fruitive workers, speculative empiric philosophers, and mystic yogis. The realization of such men is simply a waste of time and energy. To set the example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally visited temples in various holy places. Wherever he visited, he immediately exhibited his ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a Vaishnava visits the temple of a demigod, his vision of that demigod is different from the vision of the impersonalists and Mayavadis. The Brahma Samhita supports this. A Vaishnava's visit to the temple of Lord Shiva, for example, is different from a non-devotee's visit. The non-devotee considers the deity of Lord Shiva an imaginary form, because he ultimately thinks that the Supreme Absolute Truth is void. However, a Vaishnava sees Lord Shiva as being simultaneously one with and different from the Supreme Lord. In this regard, the example of milk and yogurt is given. Yogurt is actually nothing but milk, but at the same time, it is not milk. It is simultaneously one with milk, yet different from it. This is the philosophy of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and it is confirmed by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 9.4. Maya tatamidang sarvam jagat avyakta mortina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham te sravastitaha. By me and my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. The absolute truth, God, is everything, but this does not mean that everything is God. For this reason, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers visited the temples of all the demigods, but they did not see them in the same way an impersonalist sees them. Everyone should follow in the footsteps of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and visit all temples. Sometimes mundane sahajas suppose that the gopis visited the temple of Katyayani in the same way mundane people visit the temple of Devi. However, the gopis prayed to Katyayani to grant them Krishna as their husband, whereas mundaners visit the temple of Katyayani to receive some material profit. That is the difference between a Vaishnava's visit and a non-devotee's visit. Not understanding the process of disciplic succession, so-called logicians put forward the theory of Panchopasana, in which a person worships one of 5 deities, namely Vishnu, Shiva, Durga, the sun god, or Ganesh. In this conception, the impersonalists imagine one of these 5 deities as supreme and reject the others. Such philosophical speculation, which is certainly idol worship, is not accepted by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu or by Vaishnavas. This imaginary deity worship has recently been transformed into Mayavad, impersonalism. For want of Krishna consciousness, people are victimized by the Mayavad philosophy, and consequently, they sometimes become staunch atheists. However, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu established the process of self-realization by his own personal behavior. As stated in the Caitanya-caritämrta, Madhya 8:274, Stavara jangama deke na deke tada murti sarvatrohaya nija ishta deva spurti. A Vaishnava never sees the material form of anything, moving or non-moving. Rather, everywhere he looks, he sees the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and immediately he remembers the transcendental form of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Another one of his classic purports. Text 361. Please hear the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu with faith and devotion. Giving up envy of the Lord, everyone chant the Lord's holy name, Hari. Text 362. In this age of Kali, there are no genuine religious principles other than those established by Vaishnava devotees and the Vaishnava scriptures. This is the sum and substance of everything. Hare Krishna. Purport. One must have firm faith in the process of devotional service and the scriptures that support it. If one hears the activities of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu with this faith, he can be freed from his envious position. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for such non-envious persons. Nirmatsaranam satam. In this age, a person should not envy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, but should chant the holy names of Hari and Krishna, the Maha Mantra. That is the sum and substance of the eternal religion known as Sanatana Dharma. In this verse, the word Vaishnava refers to a pure devotee and fully realized soul, and the word Vaishnava Shastra refers to Shruti, or the Vedas, which are called Shabda Praman, the evidence of transcendental sound. One who strictly follows the Vedic literature and chants the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will actually be situated in the transcendental disciplic succession. Those who want to attain life's ultimate goal must follow this principle. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11:19-17 it is said, Shruti pratjaksham atiham anumanam chatushtayam pramanesh anavastadnan vikalpad navirajyate safirajyate. Vedic literature, direct perception, history, and hypothesis are the four kinds of evidential proofs. Everyone should stick to these principles for the realization of the absolute truth. Text 363. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are just like an unfathomable ocean. Unfathomable ocean. It is not possible for me to enter into it. Simply standing on the shore, I am but touching the water. Text 364. The more one hears the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, analytically studying them, the more one attains the ecstatic riches of love of Godhead. Sri Rupa Raghunatha Pariyara Ash, Caitanya-caritämrta, Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, following in their footsteps. Purport. As usual, the author concludes the chapter by reciting the names of Sri Rupa and Raghunath and confirming his position at their lotus feet. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, Madhya-lila, 9th chapter, describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travels to many places of South India. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, the wandering mendicant, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, South India, holy places ki jai, Sri Ramananda Roy ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Sri Krishna Chaitanya ki jai, Sri Brahma Sangita ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Okay, if anyone still has any capacity to speak after that, please be my guest.
Something from Gauranga Gopal.
Gauranga Gopal, Hare Krishna.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, here in Wales, service is almost back as usual. with some slight COVID adjustments, which makes it harder to get to hear you every night. So I am feeling great relief by associating with you once again and hearing you and reading Caitanya-caritämrta. Thank you for being this great anchor in our life by always being there to give us the taste we are lacking so much. Please accept my most humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you, Gauranga Gopal. Thank you very much. I appreciate so much. And I'm sure you all are spreading Krishna consciousness like wildfire over in Wales.
And he has another comment. He says, also today my father shared a quote saying, better be love on earth instead of believing in God, because all sincere people are all sons of God. I am amazed how Maya can bewilder people that much that they can find meaning in quotes like these.
Yes. Prabhupada used to say, as a matter of fact, I've been listening to him. He just came from New York in 1976, and now he's in London, and he's kind of recalling how dull people of the Kali Yuga are. They can't even understand the simplest thing, you know. How there must be a source, and to love the material energy is useless. Anyway, it should inspire us and enthuse us, give us even more impetus to try to save them by, first of all, absorbing ourselves in this ecstatic love of associating with Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu and his eternal associates, and try to share it. And it's not our fault if they can't take it, and we shouldn't feel bad if they can't take it. Of course, we do feel bad, but still, it shouldn't depress us or discourage us or in any way make us feel disanimated. We get our animation from this, from associating with Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. And therefore, those who are honest and sincere, they will, to one degree or another, accept. And over generations, they will accept more and more. More will accept. What else? Hare Krishna.
There's one comment from Sudevi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Sudevi.
She says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Glories to Srila Prabhupada and your daily food for my soul readings.
Hare Krishna. The 9th was really special. We went over an hour, well over an hour. It was great. It went quick. When will that day be ours when we can do this 24/7? Everywhere Lord Chaitanya went, when he met a special devotee, he would stay up all night and just talk about Krishna. Incredible. What else?
From Noel Craver.
Noel Craver, Hare Krishna.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. My day does not feel complete if I do not hear your nectarian readings. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Well, thank you. I got your lovely letter and I have it on my to-do list, but I've been a little overwhelmed by tying up all the loose ends that we've had to start to set this studio up, audiobook studio up, and to settle into this new environment, and make arrangements for everything. But it's on my to-do list. Hare Krishna. I very much appreciated your letter. It was beautiful.
There's also a comment from Braj Ballaba.
Hey Braj, Haribo.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai Ho.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Many times in Shastra, Prabhupada mentions the word Vaishnavas. Does this always mean a fully surrendered soul? Sorry, a fully realized soul.
It means anyone who accepts Vishnu as the Supreme. Anyone who accepts Vishnu, of course, or Krishna as the Supreme. There may be varieties of Vaishnavas, but the Vaishnavas are the ones that accept Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we've heard during Lord Chaitanya's travels, how before Madhavendra Puri, the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, they worship Krishna alone. So they are still Vaishnavas, but they don't taste the ecstatic love that's there in Goloka Vrindavan, where Radha and Krishna are in the center. And most of them are into Vaikuntha, where Lakshmi and Narayana are in the center. But they're all Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
And Noah says, I completely understand, Maharaj. I'll be here listening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay, I think unless there's something else, I will go now. It's 8:30, and it's it was an overwhelming reading for me tonight. I read a lot, but still, there's more energy, there's more happiness every time we hear. The goal is to become addicted, to be unable to live without hearing about Lord Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all their associates, Radha and Krishna and all of their associates. So keep hearing and praying, feeling separation, serve, try to spread this movement to the best of your capacity, and all our desires will be fulfilled by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta.
There's a comment from Rati Manjari.
Hari Bol Rati.
She says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for waving the banner of Sri Caitanya-caritämrta all across the world. It is supremely uplifting. Here in Holland we have unfortunately no books yet about Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Dutch language. Now a few devotees have taken up the task of translating and gradually publishing books about Lord Chaitanya, culminating in the complete translation of Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Tonight we humbly beg your blessings and the blessings of all the devotees to complete this task.
Okay, I'll give you those blessings if you all will give me the blessings that I can accomplish my task of publishing Srila Prabhupada's books in the audio book format. Is it a deal?
Radha Manjari says, deal.
Good. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same time, same place, same subject, same ecstasy. See you tomorrow night. Hare Krishna.